So what's going down?
We're gonna blow the place up.
Okay.
What?
3, 2, 1, let's jam.
It's a place for classy society types.
What have I gotten myself into? A question as old as time. Join Tommy Angelo in his recounting of his time as crime lord Ennio Salieri's instrument of death and discover the answer for yourself. Common cabbie turned common criminal, to put it lightly. Tommy isn't afraid in the slightest to get his hands dirty, and he certainly isn't afraid to mingle with death. So prepare yourself to join him on his adventure as he discovers just exactly how business is done in the Mafia underworld and just how dangerous each transaction can be. Beginning his story as a simple cab driver in the city of Lost Haven, the direction of Tommy's life is quickly altered when his assistance is kindly requested from Mafia gangsters Sam Trapani and Paulie Lombardo. After being thanked for his service by the big boss with a wad of cash and a job offer, Tommy considers joining Salieri's army and eventually takes the offer. Partnered with Sam and Paulie, the three of them, though not always together, take on various jobs for Salieri, most of which include putting a bullet in one or many guys' heads. While it is clear that Tommy isn't too reluctant to spill blood for cash, it seems that his heart isn't completely made out of stone, as evident in the main story mission, The Whore. In The Whore, Tommy is tasked with assassinating not only the hotel manager, but also a brothel worker who had supposedly been passing information about Salieri onto his arch nemesis Don Marco Morello.
Ah! What?
When it comes time to pull the trigger, Tommy learns that this whore is actually a friend of Sarah, who is the daughter of Mafia member Luigi. Ultimately, Tommy decides not to shoot the dame, and she is let go to live her life somewhere else. Is it any wonder then that when the Mafia underworld starts to heat up and become even more dangerous than it already is, that Tommy decides that he wants out? His decision is reinforced when he figures out that Salieri had essentially sent him on a death mission to collect a truckload of cigar boxes. After successfully collecting the boxes for Salieri with the help of Paulie, they decide to open up a box and find that the boxes are actually filled with diamonds. That's right, diamonds.
Hey, Box, what do you got inside? Christ! Tom, you ain't gonna believe this!
What is it? What's inside those boxes? Damn, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Well, they don't look like cigars.
And it's definitely not rock candy.
Those are diamonds, and a hell of a lot of them.
This solidifies Tommy's resolve in leaving Salieri's crew, and the player must help him do so throughout the rest of the game. Now that we've gotten the gist of what the game is actually about, I'd like to take some time to talk about the development of this game, as I did with my last review on Monster Madness Battle for Suburbia. Link in description. So let's jump into it. Mafia Classic was developed by Illusion Softworks and was published by Gathering of Developers on August 28, 2002. Initially, I believe that this game was developed in response to the success of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, and after doing some extensive research, I can definitively say that I still firmly believe in this theory. Grand Theft Auto 3 sold 11.6 million copies during its release year, so it makes sense why Gathering of Developers would want to emulate that kind of success. But did you know that Mafia wasn't intended to be a Grand Theft Auto clone in the first place? Originally, Mafia was actually intended to be a driving game. Before you even begin the main storyline, there's a tutorial that you can play by clicking on it through the main menu. I decided to play it, and I discovered that you actually have to manually shift gears on the current vehicle that you're driving. Towards the beginning of the game, you as Tommy have to participate in a motor speedway race because the driver that was supposed to get in the race got his legs broken. Try to tell me Illusion Softworks isn't making use of the assets they've already crafted for the driving game to fit into the game's new direction. There's even a free ride option in the main menu that allows you to use any car to drive throughout the world. The Wikipedia page for Mafia summarizes the gameplay as follows. Mafia's storyline gameplay consists of driving, mainly easy city cruises between different locations, as well as chases and races. The rest of the game is based on third-person, on-foot navigation and shooting, all interconnected with cutscenes. So you see, even Wikipedia sees that the weaponry and the action are secondary to the driving mechanics. Now I know I compared this game to Grand Theft Auto, but when it comes down to it, there are actually few similarities when it comes to the mechanics in comparison. In Mafia, there's actually no money system. You can't beat up civilians off the street. Well, you can, but you can't expect them to drop a wad of cash once you do, because they won't. There's actually no need for any money in this game. Before almost every mission, Tommy must talk to Ralph to secure a car for the mission, and then Vincenzo to secure some proper weaponry. There are also no alternate outfits that Tommy can wear, so there's no need to get money in the game at all. You're also limited on the amount of weapons that you can carry. You can carry about 6 to 8 small guns, but you can only have one big gun in your inventory. Well, you can technically carry 2 big guns, one that's stashed in the inventory and one that's in your hand, but once you switch one big gun out for the other, the big gun that you have in your hand is dropped. These big guns would include the Tommy gun and any shotgun you have.
Why is it so bad? Why is it so hard? Wasn't paid to be here. Large intelligence happening. I swear it is to this.
With the gameplay being fairly minimal in complexity, Mafia's experience is either fortunately or unfortunately heavily reliant on the story that it tells. With that being said, Mafia's storyline is actually pretty decent for a game that had to change its directions mid-development. Voice acting is quite notable as well. Though Tommy may look a lot like Michael DeSanta, he is actually voiced by Michael Davis Sorvino in the original game and Andrew Bongiorno in the definitive edition. An aspect of the game that I wasn't completely used to at first was the lack of waypoint markers within the world. In Grand Theft Auto titles, there are highlighted circles on the floor that indicate to the player that it is possible to enter a building or use a door. In Mafia, however, there are no circles. I had to just take the time to go up to each door and see if they would open. At first, I was fairly ambivalent towards this, but as the game progressed, I actually grew to like the system because it personally made me feel more immersed in the game. And that experience was refreshing, because it didn't feel like somebody was holding my hand the entire time, telling me where I needed to go. I've never realized this before, but I believe waypoints and world markers are a sort of backseat gaming. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. This isn't to say that I didn't get stuck at certain times on certain missions. Because of the lack of waypoints, I spent a lot of time exploring areas and fighting enemies that I could have potentially avoided. Another aspect that grew on me while playing was the lack of specificity of some of the tasks given in each mission. Take for instance the mission Happy Birthday, where the player must assassinate Lost Heaven's city councilor during his birthday party on a yacht. The objective states that the player must obtain a gun that's stashed in a bathroom on the yacht and assassinate the city councilor with it. Tommy, however, runs into a problem where he first needs to get the bathroom key from a guy named Skippy.
Typical. This has to happen to me.
And Skippy says he'll give you the key if you clean the bathroom for him.
The lifeguard probably has them. He's around here somewhere.
I heard you had the key to the John on the upper deck.
Don't bug me. I have a lot of work to do.
Hey, I kinda need those keys. I left something there.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'll lend them to you, but you gotta promise to clean up that mess in there and bring them right back to me. I'll wait in the stern for you.
Clean up?
Sure, you bet.
Okay, there you go, but bring them back.
And Tommy says yes, just to get the conversation over with and secure the key. Now, my first instinct was to just open the door, grab the gun, and get on with the mission. And that's exactly what I did the first time around. What ended up happening was Skippy came looking for me after he saw that I didn't clean the bathroom after all.
Besides, you didn't even clean up.
Murder! There's a murderer here!
Now, Tommy became so surprised from this that he ended up throwing his hands up and actually dropping the gun needed for the assassination. This resulted in me being seized by private security and ultimately failing the mission. I was extremely confused by this. Did I actually need to clean the bathroom? If so, how would I even do that? There was only one answer to this: Google. I googled how to complete the mission, and it turns out you do have to clean the bathroom, but you have to get a bucket and a mop from a different room first, and then you're allowed to clean the bathroom. And I will remind you, when you bring up the objective using F1 on PC, you are only told to find the weapon and assassinate the city councilor. Much more patient gamers would be able to figure out how to clean the bathroom simply by exploring, but me being me, I looked at a guide online that gave me instructions on how to complete the mission, and I received a rush of nostalgia. With the main genre of game that I play being multiplayer hero shooters, I rarely look up guides and walkthroughs, so this was a nice change of pace.
Why is it so bad? Why is it so bad? I wasn't paid to be here. What the hell is happening? I swear it is the best.
You know the ability in Pokemon Slow Start? Well, you may as well call the ability Mafia because of how painstakingly slow the beginning of the game is. While the exposition and car chase that introduces us to the world is interesting and exciting, what follows is 10 to 15 minutes of absolute agony. And even after enduring that short period and finally getting some action, we are once again cast into hell by being forced to participate in a car race mission that requires us to place first. That's right, first. I understand that the development team may have wanted to implement certain assets and mechanics into the game as to not waste them after the direction of the game shifted, and to expedite/maintain the game's expected release. But these shortcuts ultimately trickle down to the player's experience of the game, and it is not a preferred experience, at least personally. The biggest problem, or should I say problems, I have with Mafia Classic are by far, absolutely, the police. See, when you're driving around in the game and your vehicle reaches above 40 miles per hour, the police lose all their shit and start hunting you down like a dog. Now, this is an exaggeration, but my point stands. It is extremely annoying to be constantly pulled over or chased while in the middle of a mission for speeding or running a red light. That's right, they even chase you for running red lights. Now, I did some extensive research, and it seems like really only racing games have these kind of triggers for police chases, so that definitely checks out. And the only way to resolve a police chase is to either pull over and allow them to give you a ticket, which, by the way, doesn't cost you anything since there's no money mechanic, or to let them arrest you. Well, that's not true. You can also escape the police, but it's a very tedious process, especially if you're in the middle of a mission. Not only is driving a source of stress for the player, despite 80% of the gameplay being driving, but the world that you have to drive through is also so gray, bare, and boring. I understand that Lost Heaven is supposed to be an imitation of Chicago in the 30s, but please throw me something. Give me some pedestrians that argue loudly with each other and get into fights, or police that chase drivers and people on foot other than the player. Instead, we have cars that move in set paths and people that you can't even interact with. Well, you can, but it'll go something like this.
Mind your business.
I don't have time for this. Go away. I don't have time. I don't have time. Mind your own business. away. Don't bother me. Please. Go away. Go away. Don't bother me. Don't go away. Don't bother me. Please.
Even the radio and background music become inevitably unbearable, so I had all music turned off for the majority of my playthrough. One final aspect of the game that I found really annoying is that you, the player, cannot manually save. Now, I've used this as a point in my previous review, and I may stop bringing it up as it seems that many early 2000 games were developed without a manual save. But I've looked in the menu options, and I've looked online. You cannot save. The only times when the game is saved is when the player completes either a main or side mission. Other than that, you are SOL shit out of luck if you're at the very brink of completing a mission and you suddenly get mowed or shot down by a guy with a Tommy gun or a Springfield rifle. Or, if you're like me, you might spend 15 minutes meticulously navigating your way through gangsters with only a pea shooter to ultimately be absolutely blasted by a grenade out of nowhere. Safe to say, I took a little break after this occurred and wondered to myself, why can't I save? While the story behind Mafia and its accompanying characters absolutely carry the game, they are not enough to make up for the fact that the gameplay and the world surrounding it are so painstakingly dull. The gameplay was so dull that every time I even thought about picking up my mouse and keyboard for another session, I instantly became exhausted. With characters and story being the anchor of my decision, I rate Mafia Original a 4.8 out of 10. I just don't have the heart to give it the full 5. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I'm sorry for the long delay since my last one, but if you've made it this far, I would appreciate it so much if you would leave a like and even consider subscribing. Even a comment can make my entire day. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Deuce!